What are some of the bigger games on Grid?
So, the games we've announced are actually really exciting. So, we've talked about Dying Light, Shadows of Mordor, The Witcher 3, and then, of course, Batman Arkham Knight. So, Batman Arkham Knight is going to be launching in the E3 timeframe. We're really excited to have access to that game, essentially in line with the launch for PC and console.
How big is the launch library and how will it grow?
So, we've been adding, first of all, we have two categories of game on Grid. We have sort of the subscription games. We call it, the Grid Service Pack. And so these are games that you always have access to play. There's around 50 games there, and we're adding about a game a week. And so that catalog will continue to grow. And then we'll have the Grid Shop, which we're going to be releasing later in June. And there we'll have access to some of the newest titles. And so, over there, we're going to see how much we grow it. But, as new games come on, we're going to have it available in the Grid Shop, and our customers can purchase those games and play them right when they launch.
How is Nvidia working with Android game developers to support the Shield console?
So very closely. We talked about our controller being the API upon which all games on Android are based. So we're basically working with all Android game developers to port really compelling games onto the Android ecosystem. We talked about a whole slew of games. So it could be games like Angry Birds that are made to become controller friendly. It could be essentially games that are just fun to play in the living room, like a Bomb Squad or a Limbo. It could be indie classics like games like Contrast, or Devolver titles like Hotline Miami. It could be remastered classics like Portal or Half-Life that we've enabled on the platform, or it could be those AAA class games like Borderlands, the pre-sequel, Blacklight Retribution. And so we're really working across the board with developers to give customers a range of games, from sort of mainstream games all the way to high-end console class games on the Android operating system.
Can you walk us through the controller a little bit?
Sure. So, the game controller is designed to be really low latency. We designed it using Wi-Fi direct, so it actually gives you far lower latency than you would expect on a Bluetooth controller. We've made it to be really console grade, so the triggers, the buttons are designed to be really high quality and robust. But we've also made it so that it gives you a great experience on the Android ecosystem. So, you want to have voice search capability on an Android platform. So we have a mic on the product, so you could easily do voice search. We have a jack on the product, so you can play a game and not disturb anyone in the living room. But it also, because it's based on Wi-Fi direct, can actually let you do in-game chat, so you can do bidirectional audio. So really, it's a console class controller that for the first time is available on an Android device.
How many games will support the controller?
So, at launch for Shield, we're going to have, over 100 games. And I think what we're seeing is the ecosystem on Android TV is really compelling. There's many games that are getting added a week. So I think it's just going to be a matter of time before we have, hundreds of games available on Android TV for Shield.
How does Tegra X1 improve the quality of these Android games?
So, I think because it gives you a class of performance that's, far higher than anything else available, what we've done is we've essentially let game developers build games that enable our gaming effects that we have on the GeForce side. So, you can have PhysX enabled, so the way that hair or the way the cloth is rendered just looks a lot different on the Tegra processor. And since it's actually based on the same GPU architecture that we have in our GeForce line, the Maxwell architecture, all of those effects, all those technologies that we have on GeForce are actually enabled on Android. So, you really get vivid and beautiful graphics, tessellation available on the Android ecosystem because we're leveraging the Maxwell architecture that we have on our graphics side.
Outside of gaming, what are some other functionality for the Shield console?
Okay, so, the Shield Android TV device is really meant to let you have a broad range of experiences in the living room. So, first thing is you can watch 4K movies and TV shows. You can listen to your music. You have an access to a broad array of apps that are on the Android ecosystem. One of the beautiful things of having an app store is you don't really know, what great apps come into the ecosystem. We saw a video conferencing app that came up a couple weeks ago. So you can just use that device, have your child sort of blow out their birthday cake with grandparents watching. And then, of course, you can play games. So, really, it's meant to be a broad platform that lets everyone in the family enjoy the living room experience.
How do you see these devices fitting into the current video game ecosystem?
I think our view of it is that, in the living room today, you have a cable box, you have, an Apple TV or a Roku, you might have a DVD player, you might have a DVR like a TiVo. Our vision of the living room is that eventually all of these services turn into apps, and these apps run on a single device. So for example, you don't really need to have a DVD player. You just purchase games on a Google Play Store or a Cinema Now type app. If you had a DVR in your house and you wanted to record content, well, now there are apps like HD Home Run and Tableau that let you sort of record and capture live content over the air, and you can record it on your device locally, watch it later in the day. And Grid is an example of a game console app, right? You have all access to all these great games, you put it in the cloud, and you can play it in your living room. So this is how we think all the things are going to come together, and you have a single device that lets you enjoy all of your living room experiences with Shield.